things, it will just stop you from getting in. So the job of security guard, it would demolish by time. Okay, so some other jobs, like for example doctors, it will also demolish by times. And if you don't believe me, there is so many researches about AI and how AI now is helping in helping doctors and helping in the, I would say, in the healthcare systems. And even I saw so many new operations, okay, where that's the thing that is doing the operation is basically robotic arm. So in 50 years, maybe you will see less doctors and more robotics arms and AI are working in this field. So we are basically, at the end of the day, we're living in information era. So we're relaying in information in unprecedented way, like as we never have done this before. So in order to basically to protect this data, we need to implement something called data security. Okay, what is data security is all about, guys? This was the first definition that we talked about a few days ago. What is data security is all about?
Protecting the data, making it sure it's not receivable to the unauthorized person.
Okay, so Nasiba was saying that's Nasiba?
It's Maha.
It's Maha. Okay, sorry. Maha is saying that in order to ensure data security, we need to protect data from unauthorized access, from modification, and we ensure data availability. And this was the first thing that we have already talked about in the first early lectures. Okay, so we're relying on data. Our money moved from houses and banks as a physical money. Now all these things are being digitalized. So digitalized means we have an online bank that we can log in and we can transfer our money and do maybe withdraw and maybe purchase stuff online. So this is all the stuff that means our information become digitalized. Okay, and in order to make sure that my data is really secure, I need to ensure who is accessing the data. I should ensure that whoever accessing the data is an authorized person. Okay, I need to make sure that whoever modifies the data is an authorized person. So this is what comes to integrity. And I need to make sure that my data is available, because if my data is not available, I will not be able to carry to carry out my day-to-day basic stuff. Okay, guys. Okay. So this is what data security, and we mentioned we also talked about system security. We also talked about cyber security. Can you guys remember? Okay, Sheikha, you can also contact Asad to tell him that you are here. Okay, so this is what we talked about in the first days, and I said cyber security is more generic term, okay, to ensure data security. And the cyber security is saying that you need to ensure data and information security, and you need also to ensure communication security, and you need to ensure also system securities, and you need to ensure service security that we are using today life. Okay, guys, so far so good?
So far so good, yeah.
Okay, so how to ensure cyber security, how to ensure, we said there is pillars. There is something called confidentiality, integrity, availability, and authentication, and non-repudiation. Okay, so in order to ensure data security or cyber security, we need to implement all these pillars. And I mentioned to you guys, when you are in interview, and the interview for first time on a job for a job like security analyst or whatever, when they ask you what are you gonna do here, so basically you would say, I'm here to protect the information asset of my company. Okay, I need to protect the information asset of this company. Okay, and take your time to read about this company that you are doing the interview about, because it's important to understand what kind of information assets they have. Just from the website, you can tell what they are doing, okay, how you can help them to protect the information assets. So this is one thing. Okay, how you can protect the information assets? Okay, you need to ensure confidentiality of data. integrity, availability, and authentication, and also non-repetition. So this is how you simply talk about a company, about your job in an interview. Okay. Another thing that you need to understand, in order to protect really an environment, you need to, first of all, you need to know what kind of assets they have. So inshallah, if you've been hired in the place, the first thing that I would say that in the first months of your job, try to understand what kind of assets you have, okay? And this is the category when we look at identification, you need to understand what assets you have, because if you cannot understand what assets you have, you cannot visualize, you don't have a diagram for the assets you have, you don't have a layout for, you don't have a topology for your assets, how can you protect it? In a very simple way, if you want me to give you an example, if you have a house, okay, and you in this house, you don't know which exits you have, which doors you have, which windows you have, what inside this house is valuable or no, how can you protect it? And this is the same thing for companies. If you don't understand their technology, their processes, their assets, their application, their Windows environment, their Linux environment, how would you protect it? You will not be able to protect it. So it's been sometimes when you've been hired to just look at the asset management, which is very important thing. Okay, guys? And I mentioned asset management is not only the hardware. You look at the hardware, the software, the application on top of this hardware, okay? The communication links that exist in this environment, okay? What kind of printers they do have in this environment? Because, you know, there's so many attacks happen on it just to have a foothold in a printers, and then later on they will exploit something else. So don't just say, okay, it's only the, you know, Windows PC that they have. No, everything in the environment considered part of your assets, okay? And everything part of the assets, you need to protect it. You need to understand it in order to protect it. Once you finish this part, you need to understand the business environment. What is the business environment is all about? Is basically you need to interview people within your business. You need to understand what is important of this system for the business. What is the criticality of these assets? Because if you don't understand the criticality, you can have a server that generate $1 million a year, and you can have a server that generate $10,000 a year, and you will deal with them in the same way. No, this shouldn't be the same. They should be different. So who can tell you which assets is important for the company? Is business. And that's why you need to understand the business environment. What kind of industries they are in? Are you working in banking? So are you working in oil and gas company? Are you working in insurance company? What is important for this insurance company to carry on their day-to-day jobs, okay? And once you understand this, so I wanted you to understand the criticality of the system, which system is really critical to company. I'm working in a sales department, or the sales needs really to have an email up and running all the time. I'm working in HR, where their pay management system should be working in up and running all the time. So according to the business environment, you start to understand what is critical for the business, and also you can build something called BI, business impact analysis. Okay, which is, and you really started to say, okay, what happened if one of these server is down? What kind of impact on my business it will be? We will have, okay, because this will let you later on to decide how really you're gonna defend the systems, okay? Because if you understand criticality and impact, you can tell. If I have, for example, a system that is really connected to a pipeline, and it's really counted how many cube liters of gas is being produced. Okay, so this system is very important. If it's down, it's gonna cost me this amount, $1 million. So I know the impact. So I really, later on, I need, when I implement my strategy to defend the system, I will implement it in a much better way. Okay, guys?
Okay.
So far, so good?
Yes.
Okay, so we also talked about policies in a very quick way. And we said that policies is basically is a documents, or a bunch of documents that shows the intent of the management and how we gonna deal with security within the organization. And usually, if you looked up the governance thing online, okay, governance is all about policy and aligning security with the policies that exist in your organization. So this is what governance is all about, is policies. Okay, make sure that you have policies, make sure that you have rules inside the organization, make sure that you have people within your organization to carry out jobs, and they have defined responsibilities. So this is all about governance. We will go back to governance again in maybe week 3, and we will talk about policies and what kind of policies exist. So we'll talk about enterprise policies, end user policies, we'll talk about technical policies, but this is later on. We're not gonna go in policies in details, but I give you a very simple example, and I told you policies is important because it's a really managerial controls. Okay, guys? Without this managerial controls, anyone can do whatever he wants. If I give you the example of the airplane, if no one told you that's the smoking is prohibited, so anyone in the airplane, even if they know this is dangerous, he can do whatever he wants. So that's why every time you get to the airplane, they will tell you smoking is prohibited. Okay, why? Because he wanted to tell you how. And I told you, policy itself, it's like a document without teeth. It will not enforce itself. You need some technical controls to enforce the policies. And we talked about this, alhamdulillah, so I know. So, okay, one of the things that you really need to understand, okay, and this is back to the art of war, where Sun Tzu said, okay, in order to really win a battle or win a war, okay, you need to understand yourself, you need to understand your enemies, okay? And you need to understand yourself means you need to understand what you have. You need to understand what system you have. You need to understand where is your weakest point, and you need to understand where is your strengths. So this is all from the book, and I wanted you also to keep in your mind that when you're talking about cybersecurity, we're talking about war. You have someone on the other side wanted to cause you harm, and you need also to defend yourself. So you are in a war. Okay, so use what I said about Sun Tzu and the art of the war always in your mind when you are working in cybersecurity. So what is this all about? Okay, so in order to understand myself, we said there is a process called risk management or risk assessment. And the risk assessment basically starts with what assets I have, okay? What vulnerabilities are in these assets, okay? What are the threats for these assets, okay? And if you understand all of them, okay, you will be able to come up with something called risk registers, which is gonna give you a score, okay, about each risk within your organization. Okay, so you start with your asset. I have this assets. I started also to interview business owners, so I understand the criticality of these assets and the impact if we're losing these assets. I started to do scanning, and I started to do something that we studied in day 2, which is basically vulnerability scanning, which is you trying to find all the vulnerabilities within the assets. And we already give you a couple of tools that can use. Can someone tell me what tools we have already used to find out about vulnerabilities? So far, so anyone? I think that you already
Nessus.
Nmap, yes, and Nessus. Okay, bravo. Bravo, says Tagreed. And I think who was saying this in the mic? Maha? Oh, okay, Maha. Okay, it's good. It's good. Okay, so we used a couple of tools to find out about our vulnerability, and I mentioned that it's good also to use a couple of tools, not only one tools, to ensure what kind of vulnerabilities we have in the system. Also, yesterday we talked about threats and what kind of threats actor are there. What is the threats vector? How can threats use different tools to exploit your environment? And we have covered this in a deep details yesterday. Okay, so any questions so far about what we have covered?
It's clear.
It's clear, everything is clear? Okay, so end of day, you will come up with a risk score, guys. And the risk score, okay, just let me do this quickly. Risk score is gonna be like this. Some define the risk as what I mentioned before, the probability of a threat exploiting vulnerability. But there is another also equation for risk. It will say that risk is a combination of 4 things that I will write here. Okay, First of all, it will give us, you will give a score for criticality of your system, okay, from 1 to 10. So if the system is very critical, okay, that's then you will give a 10. If a system is not critical, you will give a lower score, okay? And then you will also manage to add here the SVC, okay? CVE, sorry, the CVE, the severity of vulnerabilities. How I can get the severity of vulnerabilities? This guy over here, the vulnerability scanner, I'll give it vulnerability scanner, will able to give me the score, okay? And I mentioned the score is, the vulnerability scanners will give you a score about if it's a really high vulnerabilities, or it's a medium vulnerability, or it's gonna be a low vulnerability, and it'll give you a score. You will take this number for the after you validate if it's a vulnerability or not, and you will plug it here, okay? And then also in this equation, you will add the impact, okay? The impact if someone have already, I know this is gonna be critical, okay? And I know it's this system is vulnerable, it is high also, okay? And the score for the CVE is from 1 to 10, okay? Also, we look at the impact. Is the impact on business is huge if the system is being down, so you give it also a score from 1 to 10, okay? And then like at the ends, you will add the likelihood. What is the likelihood of someone really exploit this vulnerability? If the likelihood is high, because it's a well-known vulnerability, and there is an exploit has been developed in the wild for this vulnerability, and it doesn't really need any expertise to exploit this system, so I will give also a score from here from 1 to 10, okay? If its likelihood is high, and the CVE, the vulnerability is high, so it's gonna compromise your confidentiality, integrity, availability, and the system is very critical for the environment, and the impact of losing this system is high, what you will end up with a risk is very high. Okay, guys, do you understand how we calculate this risk? So it's a combination of all this stuff together.
Okay.
Okay, guys, so far so good?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, and we divided by 4. And we divided by 4 because we're trying to take the average, okay? And then we come up with a risk score. So the risk is to be high, or it's gonna be medium or low. And accordingly, we take this risk and we don't say, okay, no, we've done our job. No, until now, you just find the risk, okay? Now your job is gonna start also. How your job is gonna start is now you need to communicate this risk to the business. You need to say, okay, you know what? I have created this nice file, and this file is saying this assets, after I reviewed everything, okay, I found out there is a risk score high here, or maybe you give a number. They call this risk register, okay? And you communicate the risk registers with your manager or the business managers, and then once you communicate the risk to the management and you inform them and highlight for them the risk, now your job to start to do something called managing the risk. And we talked about yesterday, managing the risk is basically, we have 4 options to manage the risk. Can someone tell me what is the 4 options to manage a risk? Okay, we find out about the risk. What we can do about it?
Whether we solve it,
Okay,
or
solve it means what?
so, like patch it.
Patch it, okay, means what? To reduce it or to mitigate.
Yes.
Exactly. So I like
Yes.
what you said. We need to fix it. Fix it
Yeah.
means we reduce it or mitigate the risk. So this is the first strategy. Maha, صح?
Yes, it's Maha.
Maha was saying the first strategy is
Please
basically
remember me,
to.
Mr. Shadi.
I'm sorry.
Remember me, please.
Okay, Maha. Wallahi, I'm trying, but you know, I see 3 people at the same time. They have the mic on, so I cannot really tell it's Nasiba or Lamia or Maha. So I'm just trying my best. Okay, sorry. I'll try my best, inshallah, to remember you.
We can also transfer the risk.
Okay, perfect. MashaAllah. Good answer, Lamia. It's also we can transfer the risk.
Also avoidance.
Avoidance is very good. Who said avoidance?
Najwa.
Najwa is good also. So we have risk, guys. First of all, I will give M for mitigation or reduction, okay? And we have also acceptance. Sorry, not acceptance. We said the transfer. Ramya said transfer. Okay, and Najwa said we can also do avoidance.
And
Okay.
accept.
And also, Shaza was saying defense. Defense is also under the category of mitigation or reduction, guys. So this is all under mitigation and reduction. Okay, and lastly, we can accept. Okay, which option of these, okay, we shouldn't do, especially if the risk is high?
The accept.
Yes, exactly. If it's gonna harm our environment, if it's gonna harm our organization, and the risk is really high, guys, you know what that mean? That's 100% that so someone will find about this vulnerability, exploit the system, and cause us harm. And you know the harm is not gonna be the IT system harm. It's gonna be the business harm. Why? Because if someone managed to get to your database and deleted all your database, and you don't have a backup, maybe your business will be out of business. It will go bankrupt, okay? Or maybe if he just steal this data and then he sold it in the dark web, so you will get fines. So your business will be also damaged, okay? Or maybe, you know, there will be also consequence when it comes to reputation. People will not really want to trust you again anymore to give you any data. And that's why, guys, it's really interesting when Facebook is being breached, okay, and there's so many accounts has been compromised. Everyone is in the fuss. Everyone was saying, "Oh, Facebook has been breached." You know why? Because once you breach something like Facebook, okay, how can I trust Facebook anymore with my data? Okay, so because you know, I know they are taking security serious, but here we go. We have someone breach our account, took our very private stuff, okay, and now we don't know what they're gonna do with this private stuff, right? So how can we Facebook really continue doing business, okay? And that's why every time you have one of these big names is being breached, you know what will happen? The stock market share for this company goes down. Why? Because the analysts think that, okay, you know what? Now that Facebook will fail to have the trust of their clients anymore because they are breached. That's why when Uber has been breached, everyone is fast, and even the stock market for Uber went down. That's mean why? Because they are worried that this is gonna damage the reputation, and damaging reputation means no more clients, no more trust, and will eventually lead to more losses or financial losses. Okay, guys, we understand now the big pictures. So all of this is not only IT risks. This is, if you communicated this as an IT risk, is wrong. It's called business risk, because IT is a vehicle that we are using now to produce money. If this vehicle is being breached or compromised or destroyed or not available, we're gonna really have a hard time to make money. Okay, guys, so far so good. Okay, so we finished this topic yesterday by talking about threats, and we talked about malwares and viruses, and we said this is the best tools that attackers has in their hands because it's easy to create, it's easy to trick someone to open, and we talked about different categories of malware, viruses, and all the stuff. Okay, guys?
Okay.
Any questions about the topics we already covered yesterday? Okay means okay means to be honest, I don't understand when you guys say okay, is it means like you don't have any questions? Shall I ask?
Yeah, it means it's all okay.
Okay, so I will just go, guys, and start to ask you questions. Okay, now, okay, I mentioned that there is so many different types of malwares exist. Okay, can someone in a very brief way to tell me what is the difference between a ransomware, okay, and a malware?
Malware, it's a duplicate itself.
Okay.
And what the other one, please?
Ransomware.
Ransomware?
The ransom, it's someone gonna take over the system and it's not gonna give you access again until it's gonna encrypt all your files, data, and it's gonna be asking for money or anything whatever
Yeah.
they want, and it might open or not. It depends for the one who did it. Even if he get the money or anything he wants, like Bitcoin, it might not, even run the system again.
Okay, perfect. So ransomware is one of the things that I wanted you guys to focus on. Okay, and because this is one of the most common attacks that's happening in the world right now, so you really need to be very comfortable for really define what is the ransomware, because this could be an easily interview questions. Okay, and I wanted also you guys, when you read about ransomware and how it's been delivered to your network and how it will be activated in your network, also read how you can defend your network about ransomware. Okay, because it's very important to defend your network against ransomware. And this could be also an interview question. So yesterday also we mentioned that we mentioned all the threats exist. We mentioned so many malwares families exist. Okay, and we also mentioned by the end of the lecture how can we defend against these malwares family because they are developed in a very rapid way. So this is all what we have discussed so far. Okay, guys. So what we're gonna discuss for today is gonna say we finish all this identification part. We managed to understand what assets we have. We managed to understand the criticality and the business needs. Okay, we managed to also understand the objective of business and what kind of system is here. It support the business objective. We managed to talk with the management about the governance and the policies within the organization. We managed to do a very simple risk assessment. Okay, we didn't do it in a very complicated way because that it's a stages. So we just give you that you need to have a system. You need to understand the vulnerability. You need to look at the threats. But there is also another stuff that we didn't talk about, like threat modeling, like what kind of risk assessment exists. So this is all the stuff we'll talk about it in the course. So don't worry. Okay, we talked about risk management strategy. That's how you handle the risk, whether it's whether we're gonna do transfer, whether we're gonna accept the risk, whether we're gonna avoid or mitigate or reduce the risk. And the last thing, to just combine all this together, once you decided to reduce the risk, guys, once you decided to reduce the risk or mitigate the risk, this is where topic from day 2, which is basically controls, come to play. Okay, guys? So controls, once you decide to reduce the risk or to manage the risk, come to control. Okay, and we mentioned there is so many controls exist. We have something called technical control, managerial control, and what is the last one? Can I hear an answer? Physical control, bro. Ustaza, we am saying physical control. Ustaza Hadil also said physical control. So once we decided, guys, we go for the strategy of reducing or management, we go back to which part? To the physical or technical and managerial controls. Okay, so this is managerial, technical. Okay, if we look at the managerial, we mentioned the policies. Okay, no problem, Hadi. I know that you wanted to say, no worries. So we talked about managerials, some stuff like training, awareness training, and we mentioned also policies, and we also said technicals, and we said the technicals is going to be only technical solution that is going to enforce management policies. And we talked about also physical controls, which is basically how to protect your data physically. Okay, so now once we talked about controls, guys, so we wanted to really implement controls that's gonna protect our data. So we're moving from the identity part, we're moving to the protect part. So now I'm trying to link all the stuff we studied together in one diagram. So we reach the risk management, and the risk management we choose, because we are technical people, we choose that we're gonna mitigate the risk and reduce the risk, and also management, also because they are really they really care about IT system because it drives their business. Okay, so we said that the solution that we go for, the strategy that we go is mitigation. Okay, so mitigation means we implementing controls, and implementing controls mean I will do some sort of protection for my data or information. And if you can see here, guys, there is so many subcategories here. Okay, there's access control. You remember access control? We have touched on it maybe in day 1, but or day 2, and we will go again tomorrow to talk about access control. But what we talked about access control, we said we have to establish something called IEEE. And what is IEEE so far? We talked about it. Maybe is you establish identification and authentication and authorization and accountability, right? Do you guys agree?
Yeah, right.
Okay, so once we and then one of this protection also is saying that you need to implement awareness and training, okay, for your employees to show them how importance of our really our information systems, and to also to warn them from phishing campaigns and from malwares and all this stuff. So this is also a part of your responsibility to protect your data. So some of them are technical. This is a managerial control, okay? And the one that we will stop at today is gonna be data security, okay? How can we secure the data? Okay, so in order to secure the data, you need to understand the data itself doesn't have one state. The data have 3 states. Data could be data at rest. So the data is really staying in a server or in a database, or data is moving, so it transferred from one place to another place. Okay, so we call this data at transit. And also we have data at processing time. So when the data is basically in the memory or basically in the cache of your CPU. Okay, and in order to really achieve data security, you need to protect the data in all the states. So data in transit, data at rest, and data at processing. Okay, so today we will look at and make sure for sure it's available for customers. So I will tell you how to protect. So we have 3 states, and in each one of these states, you need to ensure confidentiality, integrity, availability, authenticity, and non-repudiation. For each one of them, okay, they call these guys assurance model. Okay, assurance model means that your data, if you guys never seen assurance model, before we go for a break, I will show you how assurance models looks like. Let me go quickly here. I'm looking for a cube. So if you guys seen a cube, okay, assurance model. Yes, this one. Okay, I don't know if you guys can see me, can see this data. Okay, here. So they mentioned that the data have 3 stages. Let me just. Okay, can you guys see this cube over here?
Yeah.
Okay, so the cube over here is saying that our data does have 3 states: transmission, which is data at transit, and data storage, which is data at rest, and also at processing time, when the data is being from the memory to the CPU and so on and so forth. Okay, in order to ensure data in all these 3 states, you need to ensure availability for the data for all of them, integrity, authentication, confidentiality, and non-repudiation. Okay, so this is the 5 things that we got from the cybersecurity NIST definition. Remember? Okay, so how can you ensure availability, integrity, authentication for data at transit? Okay, they said here, okay, you need to implement different kinds of controls. You need to implement physical control, managerial control, and technical control. Okay, so this is, I wanted this in assurance model, or they called it assurance cube, to stay in your mind every time you see data security. When you see data security, means data does have 3 states, which is transient, at rest, while the data is processing. Okay, in order to ensure protection, I need to protect it I need to protect the data confidentiality, integrity, availability, non-repudiation, and authenticity. Okay, how can I ensure this? Is by implementing controls. What kind of controls I have in my hand? I have physical control. I need to have managerial controls, and I need to have also technical controls. Okay, guys?
Okay.
Okay, so far so good. Now I'm just trying to tell you what
Yeah.
we're gonna study today and where we are right now. So
Yeah.
data security, we talked about that I need to really do some sort of protection for data at rest, okay, at transit, okay, and non-repudiation and authentication, okay. Right. Let's look at how can I achieve confidentiality. Okay, one of the things that can help me to ensure confidentiality is basically no one can see or read the data except the party that intended to. Yeah, in a very simple way, if I have someone here are sending message to someone in the other part of the world, okay? And this data is gonna go, as I mentioned before, in so many routers, so many switches, so many networks until it reaches the destination. I don't want to let anyone in between, okay, to let anyone in the middle to see my data. So in order to ensure confidentiality, one of the things that I can do as a technical control is encryption. And this is our topic for today. So I linked everything we studied so far to where we are looking at now. So we're looking at the data security, okay? And in the data security, I need to ensure confidentiality, integrity, and availability, and non-repudiation, and also authenticity. Okay, one of the things that will help me to ensure data security when the data is transient or at rest, that I only allow authorized people to see the data. Okay, one of the technical technique to do this, okay, is by okay, Ustaza Lamia is just this story is just Wallahi Lamia for you only. Okay, I went online today and I get the story here. We're shaving heads, okay, about the Chinese guys, okay, because you thought it like a fake story. I got it for you here. Okay, so I think we are here. We understand why we're here today and what we're gonna talk about. So this is a good time to take some break before we start the story about how encryption started and how encryption looks like and what is PKI. Okay, guys? So far, so good?
Yes.
Any questions so far? So everything is linked now for what we have studied
Yes,
so
it's
far till now?
organized. It's organized.
Okay, good, alhamdulillah. Because you know, I hate this thing that we used to do in university. When we teach encryption, we taught it as like a really separate subject, and it's not linked for anything. It's just we're teaching encryption, we're teaching access control, we're teaching hashing, but we never tell the students why it is linked to protection of the data. Okay, so now we have looked at how NIST they already built their standard, and now it makes sense that this standard is also consistent, and it makes sense to look at the data security today, and tomorrow, inshallah, we'll look at access control in more deep details. Okay, so I think it's a good time to take a break after all this revision. So if you guys allow me, we'll go for 15 minutes. So you guys also enjoy break, and we come around 10:15. What time is it now? Okay, we will come around 10. Okay, 10:10. Okay, 10 past 10. Okay, guys.
Okay. So when we understand this link, we can think by the right way to make a right decision.
Exactly, but see, you cannot protect before identification. If you jump to protection, ya Ustaza Nasiba, right away, you are losing the big picture. What is the big picture? What do I have in my environment? What is the vulnerability? What kind of threats exist to my system? And what is important for my business? You also forget this one, which is very important. You are maybe striving to protect a system which is not important. but you need to do all these steps before you jump to data security. And that's why I told you in interview, what makes really them to hire you or no, if they find you that you are understanding the big picture. Okay, I'm here to protect the information assets. Okay, so in order to protect the information asset, I cannot do anything without risk assessment. If you give me an environment without risk assessment and tell me, you know what, you are an expert, please go ahead and protect this environment, I will say sorry. I don't know where your asset is. I don't know which asset is critical for your business. So I cannot really protect your business. So let me do my first assessment. Let me understand what is the criticality. Let me do all this vulnerability assessment and threat assessment. And then later on, I can tell you what is the best solution and to buy. And this is one of the questions they asked me in the interview.
Yes.
Okay.
What
Sometimes they want to
we
trick you in the interview. They say, okay, we'll give you some budget, go and protect our environment. This is a tricky question. They wanted to hear you. Some of people will jump and say, okay, we will buy a firewall. I will buy intrusion detection system. I will buy antivirus. This is all wrong answers. The right answer to list what assets you have, to understand how important are there for the business, and then accordingly to really look at the assessment vulnerabilities, and then you look at the data protection. Okay, guys, I think we go and come 10, 15, inshallah.
Okay,
because
thank you.
And Bravo, Ustaz Hadil. Hadil is adding that we also need to choose the best risk management strategy according to the business decision. I agree with Hadil, 100%. Bravo. You need to fix your mic, Hadil, so we can hear you more. Okay, great, guys. I'll see you guys in 15 minutes.
Shadi.
Yes?
Please, can you go back to the data security cube that you
yes, sure. Sure,
I want to take a quick look.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is the states of the states of your data, okay? And this is what actually you're trying to ensure data confidentiality. This is what tools you have in your hand.
So which one comes first?
I'm sorry?
Which one came first?
No, I tell you what. This was the early one that will not take in the definition non-repudiation and also authentication. But now, as you can see, when we studied a couple of days ago about NIST, they said, okay, in order to achieve security, you need to ensure 5 things, not 3 like the CIA. So they moved to this one. It was not, here is the difference is the non-repudiation and authentication was not here. So this is the old style that we said that in order to protect our data, we need to ensure confidentiality, integrity, availability. Now NIST, they added to this authenticity and non-repudiation. Okay, guys?
Thank you.
Okay, perfect. We'll see you inshallah in 15 minutes. Okay, guys, can you hear me now? Everyone enjoyed his lunch break or tea break, or I would say coffee break?
Yes, hello, welcome.
Alhamdulillah. Allahumma lak alhamd. Okay, great. So if you guys can see over here, this is a bit of history, and it starts with, we mentioned, just before we go, we mentioned that we are in the data security phase, and in the data security, you need to ensure data security at transient, at rest, and while the data is processed. Okay, one of the techniques to ensure data security is cryptography or encryption. This is a bit of history about cryptography. It's in the beginning, steganography means that's the art of hiding a message. Okay, طبعا the art of hiding a message means you don't want anyone to see the message except the intended party. So if you are sending a message, you don't want anyone in between to see. And here's what I was telling you. There is someone back in Greek times. Okay, he shaved the head of one of his servants. Okay, he tattooed a message on his head and waited for her hair to grow back before sending the messenger out. When the courier arrived, يعني المسنجر ده وصل للدestination, his head was shaved and the message was read. Okay, and the message D was basically telling them there is a Persian attack اللي هي يعني حضارة الفرس. They were attacking the Greek empire at that time. Okay, but anyway, this is the starting of basically hiding the message. I don't want to see anyone to see the message in between when I'm sending the data over hostile environment. Hostile environment like what? Like the internet. Why I'm calling it a hostile environment? Because I don't trust anyone on the internet. I don't even trust my service provider. Okay, what will stop a service provider to see my messages? Okay, to have a peek on my messages. Okay, so one of the things that we really need to care about is who is able to read the message. Okay, let's say another example. Let's say that you have a file which is very important, and this file is on your hard drive. Okay, or maybe you have a database that's in your server. Okay, and the database does have all. Let's say there's someone carried a physical attack. He managed to steal your laptop. Okay, do you want this person to able to log into your laptop and see all your data or all the file or all the important data in these files? Definitely no. Okay, also if you have a server in the data server room, you wanted someone by mistakes to get in and open this or so maybe intentionally and steal the server or do something about the server and see the data. Okay, there's so many incidents also happened in the wild that a company, they used to have a hard drive that has a database, and this database is not encrypted, and later on when they replaced this hardware with a new hardware, they solved the storage with some of these data. Okay, and this was very famous problem in the US, because whoever bought this hard drive managed to restore the data and managed to see the client data. So they said the main company failed to protect the data of the client in two equations. One, they sold all the storage. Secondly, they were not encrypting the files in the old storage. So whoever bought this storage was able to recover the data. So this is all the things that we don't want to happen in our environment. And this is an example of data at rest and data at transit. So the data is moving from one place to another place. Okay. So we're moving a little bit forward from this old Persian time and Greek time to this guy over here. Okay, this is also one of the earliest guys who started the encryption. Okay, and even earliest encryption mechanism is based on the cipher or Caesar cipher. So his name is Caesar. Okay, and he was a warlord. So he was launching a lot of wars all over the globe, and he had his commanders all everywhere. Okay, and he wanted to send a message for his commanders to attack. Okay, but if he sent this message as a clear text, so he got this guy over here to write the message, and then he sent it to his commander, anyone in between, especially if this is a hostile environment where we seen so many movies, there's someone who is waiting outside in the wild. Once the message went outside from the palace or the king place, they will attack them and they read the messages. So we don't want this to happen. So what this guy ended up doing, he said, like, let me come up with a strategy to hide the message. So what he said, let me do shifting. He will do a shift for message. So what he will do is a shift for the letters. Okay. So how many spaces I will shift? I will shift 3 spaces. So for example, the A in attack, it will start to be D. Okay, guys, and then the T, it will start because I will move 3 letters ahead. It will be W, and then again A, it will be D. Okay, and then also C, it will be F. Why C? It will be F because I will move 3 characters and reach to F. And then the same thing for K, it will be also moving from K to N. Okay, guys. So this message over here, can you see? This is the original message. Okay, and this is after we moved or we done the shift to 3 letters. So this is the message. If someone in between, okay, exactly, moving 3 characters or shifting 3 characters, someone in between, they manage to get this message, they will not be able to understand this message is all about. Why? Because first of all, they don't know the algorithm, what he done to write this message, so they don't know the shifting thing, and even they know the shifting, they don't know how many characters he shifted. Okay, guys, and when the message reaches the destination, all the messenger need to do, or all this king need to convey, is basically shifted back 3 characters. Okay, guys, do you understand the first early tries for doing this? So the commander get the message. Okay, they will shift it back 3 character back, and then they will end up with the word attack. So as I mentioned here, it's the algorithm is the shift, and the key is 3. Okay, but again, how many keys I can do here in this thing? If I know there's a shift, okay, what is the possibility to return to the original message again? Can someone tell me? Okay. If I know the algorithm here is this guy over here, the Caesar, has already shifted the letters. He shifted the letters, but I don't know he shifted by 1 character or 2 characters. This is the, yes, this is the Caesar cipher, your Caesar. I wrote it there, I think, right? Is a Caesar cipher.
Yeah.
Okay. So how many possibilities I have, guys, if I have a key here? So maybe he shifted by 1 or 2, but what is the maximum possibilities here?
3.
No, he can shift up maybe 10. How many possibilities I have? How many shifts I can have? Is the shift will be maximum by the number of alphabetic, right? If I have 25 characters, I will maximum I can go 25 characters, but actually I can go to 25 characters because it doesn't make sense to go back to A again. Okay, so I can move shift to 4. Wait, for 2 power to 128 is still not the case right now. But I'm talking about the cipher's text, the Caesar cipher right now, guys. So now I can shift by 3. Yeah, exactly. I can shift by 4, 5, 6 until 25. 26, I will go back to A again, right? So I have only how guys for the keys? 25 possibilities. So let me tell you how I look at it, and this is something we done in programming before. Okay, you guys, I'll tell you what. He can shift only 1 character. So A will be B, B will be C. This is shift 1 character. Okay, if shift 2 characters, A will be C, and so on until 25. This is only 2. If I have someone smart, he can tell, okay, here is my cipher. This is the cipher text right now. Okay, let me try by shifting 1 character. Can I get the plain text? Yes or no? No. Okay. Then I will go shifting by 2. Right? Okay. Did I get the original? No.
No.
3. Oh, I get the original. Then guy was shifting 3. Okay. He can do this probability until he reached 25. So I have 25 combination until to reach to the original message. One of them are correct. Okay, and that's why, guys, the key combination is very important. If you know how many possibilities of the keys, you can easily go back to the plain text, because encryption, in order to go back to the original text, you just need to use the same algorithm with the same key or the same combination of key. Do you guys agree?
Yes.
Okay, everyone is clear about this? This is important. Now, the algorithm that exists right now, for example, exactly, so we can know the message. If you try all the 25 combination, we can go back to the original. And that's why this cipher text is not very popular anymore. It can be popular maybe 200 years ago, okay? But now I need a key, which is the combination is huge, because the longer the combination is, the long of computing power until I find the right key to return the original message. And that's why we can see, guys, here, this 3, this ES, they are using 128-bit key. What is a 128-bit key means? What is 256-bit? So it's 2 power to 128 combination of keys. So look at this number, guys, here. It's not an easy number to read, but this is the number of 2 to the power of 128. I cannot even read it. It's not a number that's readable. That means the computer needs to use different combination of 1 and zeros, because this is a binary key, okay, until I reach to the right combination that can really encrypt, unencrypt the message or reach to the plain text. And that's why sometimes you can say it takes maybe 100 years from a computer to reach to the original message. Why? Because the longer the key, the more harder for the computer to find the right combination. Do you understand the basic now of encryption?
Yes.
Okay. Let me show you how the encryption is done in reality so it can make more sense. So just, okay, so this is the encryption types. The main idea behind the encryption, before I will go and show you the symmetric and asymmetric, is basically two people, they wanted to share files, or maybe they have a file on their hard drive, okay? And what they will do, they will try to send this file over unprotected channel. Then we have this person in the middle who will be able to see the file. Okay, so encryption means that you will have your plain text is going through an algorithm and key. So the algorithm need to be very strong, and the key also need to be long. That's why we are using 128, 160, 250, 512. The longer the keys, the more harder for the attacker to reach to the cyber text. And then you will reduce the cyber text. Then at the end, or at the receiver will have the cyber text. You will apply the same algorithm, the same key, you will get the plain text. Okay, guys?
Okay.
Here, okay. If you wanted to play to see how it looks like in reality, I will share with you this link. So this link is kind of symmetric key. So you need only one key to encrypt and the same key to decrypt. So what I did here, okay, I got the word test, okay, and I wanted to encrypt it. So I used the cipher mode is CBC. I will talk about the cipher mode now. You can choose the key size 128, 159, 192 or 256. Okay, and then you can enter any random key here. I entered this random key. If you don't know how to create the keys, there is also a website. Okay, sorry, that will allow to help you to generate this key. So this key needs to be exactly 128 bits. Okay, guys, and then I said encrypt. And once I encrypt, look at my word test. It changed it to what? This combination over here. Okay, guys, have you seen this so far?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, perfect. We mentioned in the diagram before that encryption, in order to retrieve the plain text, we need to go through the same process again, but we need also to have the key. If we don't have the key, we'll not be able to get any output. So this is what I will do. I will put this output here. I will take this output copy, okay? And then I will go up here. Okay, I did this before, but here. Okay, guys, I will use the same cipher mode. We have so many cipher modes like streaming or block cipher modes. We'll talk about this later on and what is the difference between them. Okay, I will use the key size, okay, and I will use the encryption key. Look, the encryption key is exactly the same, because without the encryption key, you will not be able to decrypt this data. And if I come here and say 1, I added 1. See, let's see what will happen. when I decrypt, Ali, the length of this key is not right. Okay, so I did something wrong. I did the key is not right. So let me see if I have added capital W or capital B here. I wanted to decrypt. Okay, look. So I'll go back to my original key, and I said decrypt. I got this number. This over here is called base 64, which is basically an encoding. It's not data is not encrypted, but encoded in a way that computer can understand it. If I come here and say return the encoding to the original message, okay, so this is the encoding message, and then I will say decode it to the plain text, I will get my original message. Okay, you guys see now how encryption is done?
Yeah.
You can play with this website later on when you have time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Would you please
One
share
thing
with
that's also I
us?
wanted to highlight, because it's also important as long as we talk about encryption and decryption, is hashing. Okay, hashing is different than encryption. Hashing is basically generating a message from a text. Okay, so if you guys look at here, okay, so I hear, hello Lisa, how are you? Okay, so if I used MD5 hashing, it will create this number. Okay, why I'm using hashing? Maybe I told you guys before in the first day, I'm using hashing to know if my message was tampered with, or it changed or no, or even the file I'm downloading from the internet has been tampered with or no. So can someone modify it or no? So I will show you one thing. So look at this. I will copy this hash. Okay, and I will come here, guys, and I open a text file here over here, and I will add this hash. Look at this hash. Can you guys see it? Okay, look at this. Now I'll go back and I will change. I will make this one capital H. It's the same message almost, but I change it a small change from small to capital. I will generate a hash. Okay, it generated a hash. I will copy this hash and look at what's happened here.
How's the change?
Exactly. So this one started with 149. This one is 644. You guys, you confused the Ustaz Ibtisam? Okay, sorry, did I confuse you? Okay, I just explained two concepts at the same time. So let me go back. The difference between both of them. Confidentiality means I wanted to send the message, and I wanted only the person in the other side who has the right key will be able to see the message. Okay, Ustaza? This is encryption. So you need to have a key, and it's reversible operation. So if someone encrypt, someone can decrypt. Okay, this is what we have seen here so far. Do you agree with me now?
One way only.
Okay, in hashing, guys, I don't really care about this message. By the way, this thing that's been generated here, I cannot really go to the original message from this this hash that's come here. I cannot really go with any means to the original message. I cannot. Okay, so this is not an encryption. This is a way to tell me, have someone modified my original message or no? Have someone added maybe here, look at this, I will return this hello to the same small hello, and then I will add maybe exclamation mark, okay, at the end. And I will say generate. It will generate a completely different, okay, messages or hash digest than the other. That's mean, okay, if at the receiver, I created the same MD5 and it's not like the original one, I know for sure how someone has modified my message in between. So do you guys
and
understand?
also have the space is changed also.
Yeah, exactly. The space will change, definitely. Okay, clear? Okay, yeah. So one of them can ensure confidentiality. One of them is really into integrity. It's basically hashing is all into integrity. Okay, it means that I cannot go back to the original by any means. There is some attacks like rainbow table or whatever. We'll talk about it later on. But I'm saying for now, okay, I cannot by any means go from here to the original message. Okay, what? That's why, guys, that's when we have a password, we use hashing algorithm. Why? Because even if you have the hash, if you don't really know how to return from the hash using some certain attacks to the original, you will not be able to reach the original. But I will tell you about the hashing and salting and other stuff later on. I just doesn't want to confuse you. But for now, encryption means I wanted to hide my message, because if you don't have this key, you will not be able to return to the original. Okay? In hashing is different. In hashing, all what I wanted to really accomplish is basically is if I know the message has changed or no. So I will give you this message and I will tell you, by the way, okay, by the way, guys, I will copy this with my message. I will create a hash and I will copy this hash to my message. When you reach the destination, you will take this copy, you will take this message and try to create a hash. If both hashes really are identical, means the original message reach without any problem. If the hashes is different, means the original message has been changed. Okay, guys? So far, so good?
Yeah.
I can spend here as much as you want, guys. I don't mind, as long as you understand these two concepts. Because you know what I noticed, there's a lot of people until now in this course and even in reality, when you tell them about hashing, one-way function, two-way function, but they don't really understand the operation behind it, okay,
Yes.
and why we use it. But now, and inshallah, in just if you give me 3-4 slides, I will give you a full diagram of how both of them are working in reality. Okay, guys, so let's go here. Okay, so encryption that we just mentioned, that we mentioned that we are using, okay. We cannot decryption because it's not a decryption. Have you noticed, says Asail, that have we used the key with hashing? We didn't use a key.
No.
We mentioned in encryption we need the key, right?
Yeah.
In hashing we didn't. We
Yeah,
said,
one-way
okay, there is an algorithm only.
function.
We hit generate, it will generate a message digest. No key, exactly, Ustaz Aula. Okay, perfect. You were saying that I attach the hash digest, not the hash function. The hash digest. Yani if we go here back, okay, guys, what I attached in my messages, okay, is a hash digest. And I will tell you why it makes sense. I will give you a scenario now. It will blow your mind, inshallah, but just give me a few slides because I don't want to jump. So now I will send the original message, Ustaza. Let's say I will tell you, download the software in your computer, okay? And when you download the software, I'm putting on my side something called the hash digest. Okay, when you get this file in your computer, calculate the hash. If both hashes are the same, this means that the application is really the application that we publish and there is no problem. If the hashing produced is different, then you know that someone played with this file, you don't trust it. Okay, guys?
Okay.
Okay, this is in a very simple way. Okay, so we said that encryption is all about hiding the message from the bad guys. I wanted to send, okay, perfect, okay. I wanted to send, let me just get my pen here because this is important. Okay, so confidentiality is all about hiding the message from the bad eyes. So whether you have a database here, okay, and this database, okay, is very important for you, or maybe you have a file in your laptop and you wanted really to protect it from anyone to see it except you, you need to encrypt the file with a key, with a single key. This is what we call it symmetric key encryption. So there is two encryption type. One is called symmetric and one called asymmetric, and they are related. They have some history with each other. So we'll talk about the first symmetric. You have a file and you encrypt it, okay? The most important thing in this encryption is you need to keep this key safe. If someone managed to get this key, okay, khalas, done. He will be able to read the message. And if you yourself lost this key, you are done as well. You will not be able to read the message. Okay, so important thing in symmetric key is something called key management. You need to manage the key in a very organized way, and you need to be able to recover it if you lose it. If you lose it and you don't have a backup, you are done. You will not be able to reach this back. Okay, guys? So this is asymmetric. And the symmetric can be used in data at rest. So this is data at rest. Why? Because the file is resting in your computer, right now. Or maybe this is a database, so it's in a server. So data at rest. So data database, okay? Well, I can use also symmetric encryption if I wanted to send a file to another party. So I can encrypt it, and the other, if the other party do have the same key, it will be able to decrypt it and see the plain text. Okay, so I can use encryption for data at rest and data at transit. Okay, why I'm using encryption? Encryption can ensure confidentiality. So you need to connect this together. Don't say, okay, I need to encrypt. Yes, but why are you encrypting? To ensure confidentiality. Means no one will be able to see your data except if he has the right key. Okay, guys, so far so good?
Yeah.
Okay, we have an issue here that most of you guys can really tell. Okay, how can I send this key, okay, to the other party? Okay, because we said this, if there's someone compromised this key over here, it's a game over. So if this is a communication link, and I know there is a bad guys over this communication link, if I send the key itself, okay, before we begin to communicate, okay, someone can capture the key. So it's game over. So any encryption I will do later on. So the only way they found out for symmetric, okay, is to transfer the key in offline way. Offline way, that means you call someone by phone and give him the key. Okay, because you cannot transfer it over unsecured channel. If you transfer it over unsecured channel, game over. Someone will see the key and done. Do you agree or no?
Yes, I agree.
Yes. This is one thing.
In life, like in most of communication, they mix symmetric and asymmetric encryption.
Bravo. Who said that?
Yes.
MashaAllah. Who said
Maha.
that?
Maha.
Maha, bravo Maha. I will try to remember. خلاص يا Maha. خلاص, good. And we will talk about this in TLS and SSL. Very good. I will tell you also why we combine it. There is a reason behind it. Okay. So we said this is the first issue we had as a symmetric key. Even though the symmetric key is fast, okay, and it really doesn't require high processor power. So that's why they love it when it comes to encryption, especially if we have a huge number of data back and forth, we need to encrypt. So this is the first thing. The other thing that we need also to keep in mind, let's say that you have so many organizations, okay, that you need to deal with. What I mean by this, let's say that your organization needs to send data to 100 organizations. That means I will have to create how many keys? If I have 100 organizations here, okay, I need to create a pair of keys to every single organization.
Yes.
Because I cannot use the same key. If I use the same key, it will be a disaster. Why? Because any one of them will be able to see all my communication over there, right, guys?
Yeah, it used the same key. Yeah.
I cannot use the same key.
Yeah,
different
key. Yes.
Different keys. So first of all, I will have an issue for communicating the key. I need to communicate it offline. So I need to do the same thing with the 100 companies. I need to communicate it offline for 100 companies. This is one thing. The other thing, the more the entities that I am dealing with, okay, the more number of keys that I need to handle. And all this key, I need also to make sure that I'm not losing it or someone can spy on me. Okay, so the key management is issue. Another thing that you need to keep in mind, for the internet, if I am a website that's dealing with a million of customers, okay, how many keys I need? Million keys. Okay, how can I communicate this million keys? I have an issue with communication because the internet is really not a secure place to communicate, right? So I need to communicate it offline, see how much work it is to start with. I need to make sure that they are different keys. There is no issues with that the keys are completely different. And I need also to manage how many keys, guys, in my premises here, 1 million keys. If I lost these keys, I will not be able to communicate with all this million party. So for the internet, symmetric was a big failure. Okay, guys? Do we understand why now it's a big failure?
Yeah.
Okay, I hear silence. If you guys really, if you
Yes.
don't. No. I will explain to you. I explain it to you, Ustaza. Good question from Ustaza Nawara. Nawar. Okay, good. Mashallah. Good question, Ustaza Nawar. Let's go and here. Okay, so I have one key for encryption and decryption. Okay, guys, Ustaza Nawar. This is the internet. I said the internet is untrusted place. What if, Ya Nawar, I send my key to the second party, to the receiver over the internet, and I know for fact there is a hacker over here. What happened to my key?
The hacker we can get the key.
Exactly, will capture the key, and
Yes.
any further communication, he will use the key to decrypt the data. Game over.
Okay.
صح?
صح.
Right. In order to secure this key, I need to do something called offline. Offline يعني إيه؟ يعني I will not use this line anymore to send the key. I will call the second party by phone, and I will give him the key. I will take the key H+910004.
Who is the second party?
Exactly, to the second party.
Yeah. Who is?
So this is the way. Or I will write it in an envelope and seal this envelope and send it to the second party. Okay?
Okay, yeah. Then you mean there is another system, okay, which is third party, and the key will go to the third party, and then again will send to my the organization.
No, okay. I will tell you the story of the third party coming in just a little bit, but don't worry about the third party now. But for now, okay, I'm telling you, okay, I decided to make a business with this organization, which is XYZ. Okay, XYZ, I wanted to securely send them data. No one can see it on the internet. Okay, so I will say, okay, you know what? I will send. First of all, I will come up with a key. Okay, that's the key that I will use it for encryption the data. Okay, they XYZ, they need the same key, okay, to decrypt the data. Don't you agree?
Okay.
Okay. Type. How can I send this key? If I send it over the internet, it's not good idea because someone can capture the key, can find out about the key, right? So I can call them by phone and tell them by phone what is the key that I'm gonna use. Because the key, if you says Nawar,
okay.
So if you guys remember in this slides, we go here. Okay, the key is just a combination of characters. So I can call him in the phone. I can call someone in XYZ, and I'll give him the key. Now, when he got my data, he can use the same key over here to decrypt the data in the receiver part. Okay. In this way, I never send my key over the internet. I talk to someone, I know that he is working there offline by phone, and I give him the key word character by character.
Okay, I understand that now. The key will send in other way.
Okay.
Okay, not in the same way.
Because it's offline
data encryption. Okay.
Okay.
But I think it will explain it in the next slide or in the future of courses. I mean, explain more details of it.
Yeah, but I explained to you how the communication used to be done in the past. So in order to secure this communication, I will call someone, I will give him the key. Okay?
Yeah, I understand.
But this is not efficient. Why not efficient, Ya Ustaza? If I have 100 companies over here, that means I have to call them 100 companies and give them a different keys. Because I cannot use the same key for all these 100 companies. Why? If I give all these 100 companies the same keys, everyone can see each other's data. Do you agree?
Yes.
This is a huge issue. So if already we have 1 million customers, do you think that every time I will make a key, I will call the customer if I have a million customers? It's not an efficient way, sir.
Okay.
right? And the phones are not secure. This is another issue, which is, I don't want to go voice over IP, but I'm saying right now, it's not an efficient way. So what the scientists did to really overcome this issue, they come up with the asymmetric key encryption. So let's go to asymmetric key to find out how they solve this issue. Okay, and I'll tell you what, and I can explain this in more details for you if you DM me, inshallah. Okay. Okay. So the symmetric key. Same
so
key
now we use
Yes, okay.
the public key for symmetric key now. Only use public key.
I told you what is the issues with symmetric, right?
Yeah.
So we've seen the symmetric key. There's two issues. The key distribution. How can I give my keys to people outside? And another thing is the number of keys that I have to generate. I have to generate so many keys, right?
Yeah.
And I have to manage these keys within the organization. So how many issues? I have 3 issues. Okay. How can I help? How can I solve this? So this is the slide is talking about symmetric means that we are using the same key. It's faster. I will talk about public key encryption.
Okay.
It needs to be stored securely. Okay. Secure channel required to transfer the keys. Okay. If I don't have a secure channel to transfer the key, all my communication will be exposed to the hackers or the man in the middle between us. Okay. And that's why, guys, they come up with a symmetric key. So what is a symmetric key? Okay, first of all, let's look at the math behind the symmetric key. So I will have 2 keys, 2 large numbers, and the 2 large numbers are related. I'm not gonna go really into the details because you need to really understand the theory of numbers and a discrete math in order to understand. But I will create 2 keys, okay? These 2 keys is just 2 numbers, and these 2 numbers are related. Okay, and I will tell you how they are related later on, but they are related. And related in a way, if you encrypt with 1 key, you can decrypt with another key. So if you encrypt with the public or the public one, you can decrypt with the private. If you encrypt with the private, you can decrypt with public. So they are related and they can do. But with 1 key, you cannot encrypt and decrypt. So if you have the private key only, you cannot decrypt and encrypt. If you have the public key, you cannot encrypt and decrypt. So they are different than symmetric key. Okay? Exactly, Ustaz Abtisam. We are trying to do our best. Okay, guys, so far so good. We understand the asymmetric key. This time we are using 2 keys. Okay, one is gonna call it public, and this one public. Okay, I can share it with anyone. So it's gonna help me in one thing, which is basically if I share this key and it's public, I don't really care. If even I have here man of the middle attacks over here, okay, I don't care. Why? Because I made this key specifically public. So even the attacker, okay, if he have my public key, using the public key only, he cannot really drive anything about my private key. So this is the no, it's over here. Okay, guys?
Okay.
Okay, so I will give the public to everyone. And let's say, assume we have a hacker here. And this hacker will have my public key also. Okay. I will ask everyone, okay, to encrypt the data that is gonna send to me using the public key. Okay, so if I have another party over here, I will give him my public key, and everyone will use this data, will use the public key to send me the data. Okay, who is able to see the data is the one who has a private key.
Right. Okay.
Because he can decrypt the data. So in this asymmetric, guys, I'm using 2 keys. Okay, how asymmetric help me to really overcome the issue of symmetric? Listen to this carefully. I can give my public key to many entities, same public key. So I don't really need to generate different keys. Okay? Okay or no?
Yes, okay.
Okay, so this is first because it made publicly. I want it public. The second thing, I can communicate my public key over even untrusted network. Because I don't care if they have it. They will not be able to get the private key from this public key Let them have it. Let all the attackers in the world have it. They will not be able to find out about my private key, because my private key, I will keep it within my company, which is XYZ. So even if that, I'm sorry.
So is the public key like a misguide?
I'm sorry, like what?
Is the public key like a misguide?
No, public key, okay, I'll tell you what, I'll tell you also. The public key and the private key is just two numbers. And these two numbers are related, okay, in some factoring stuff, according to some mathematics, okay? But again, it's a bunch of letters, okay? So I'm gonna send it to everyone outside. And when they use it, because you know what will happen? They will take the plain text, they will do some mathematics here called the algorithm, and they do it with the key that I send them, the public key, and they will send me the data. The data, it will be cipher data. Why? Because I use this key. Okay, who is gonna be able to see or to transfer the cyber data back to the plain text data is the one who has this private key.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Okay, guys, one more important thing. We said that asymmetric existed to help us with the issue with symmetry. So now I can send this public key to a million entities, and they will be all of them using the public key. So I already fixed the issue of so many keys that I need to create. And also because it's public, I can send it over unsecured channel. So even if I send it over the internet, it's no problem. Let the attacker have it. They will not be able to do anything. And they will not be able to use it, okay, guys, to see the data coming from here. Let's say that this guy encrypted some data and sent it over here, and this is the dark file here is basically data encrypted with the public key. If the attacker have here the public key, he cannot do anything with this data. He will not be able to drive the original data. So it's not a problem at all. Okay, guys? So now I fixed the two issues with symmetric. And moreover, I fixed the issue with key management. I told you in last time, if I have symmetric, I need to create 100 keys or 1,000,000 keys, and I need all to save them. In this scenario, I only created 2 keys, and I have only to make sure that my private key, 1 key is secure. Do we understand now what is the relation between symmetric and asymmetric? Both of them, by the way, if you think about it, the asymmetric came to fix issues with what happened with symmetric encryption. Okay, guys, so far so good. Take your time. It's important because the more advanced we go, it will be little advanced every time we jump in. Okay, I'll give you another analogy, which is mean like an example. Someone told me about it. Okay, so your private key will always stay in your premises. You will never ever, share your private key. This is a big no. Big no. If you did this, khalas, you are done. But what you will do, your public key is like a safe. A safe means something you keep very important stuff. You add a document inside the safe, okay, and you close it and you send it back to the original place. Only the original place will have the right combination to open the safe. Okay, so even if you send your safe to 100 people all over the world or 1,000,000 people, they will all of them put the important document or important data inside, and they will send it over to you, and you only have the key to open this safe. So anyone in between will not see what is inside the safe. Okay, does this make sense now?
Yes.
Okay. I hope so. I know that encryption is
we see this message on the WhatsApp chatting. When someone sent to you a private message, there is a little notes in the up of the chat. It tells us only me, I can see this conversation.
Okay, perfect question. أستاذ اسمك إيه أستاذة إيه؟
Nusayba.
Nasiba, very good question. I will give you, if you give me 5 minutes, Nasiba, I will tell you exactly. I have this exactly. Let me show you. If you are wanted to understand what's happened in a real communication, I have an example here for these 2 people over there. Bob and Alice, they wanted to communicate privately a file that is confidential. Only Alice can see it, and also integrate and make sure that Bob is sending it. Okay, so we'll go in a deep details how this is happening. It's gonna be a long story, but I hope that you will enjoy it. Just give me 1 second. Inshallah, I'm getting there.
Okay.
Okay, guys. So
Okay.
far so good now for symmetric and asymmetric.
Yeah.
Okay, public key use 2 keys. We explained it. The public is like the safe that I'm sending to everyone. I'm telling them put your data encrypted with the key and send it to me over. With my private key, I will be able to do. And by the way, this is how web server are communicating. Web server using the same idea behind the public key, guys. Okay, they give you their public key when you initially access the website, and then you encrypt the data with using this public key and sending over to the web server. Okay, so far so good. Okay, because we are using very complicating mathematics behind the public key, guys, like elliptic curves and all the stuff. So they are slower compared to symmetric keys. Okay, guys. So it's really have to do something with the mathematics or the algorithm behind the asymmetric. So it's slower. Okay, guys. So far so good.
Yeah.
Okay, and by the way, we are using both of them when it comes to secure communication like TLS and SSL. We will talk about this later. Okay, in this diagram, a symmetric key, they solve it for us so many issues. We really like it. Okay, I will explain you, Ustaz Al-Hanouf, about WhatsApp communication if you give me just sometimes, because it's really need to be taken gradually. You cannot jump in this specific area. Let's just take it bit by bit. Okay, guys, there's one issue. Let's say I have an attacker here in between. Okay, when you are sending your public key, because he is seeing the communication channel, and that's why man of the middle attacks can be very dangerous. Okay, guys. So what he did here, he got the public key, and he create his own public key and send it to you. Okay. So now you're gonna encrypt the data using who, guys? Which public key? The original server or the attacker?
Attacker.
Exactly, because he now in between. He's man of the middle. He got in between you, and this was a biggest issue with asymmetric key encryption. That what if someone in between received your public key, and instead of sending the public key, he replaced it with his own public key. And you here on the other side, you don't really know the difference. You got a public key, you saw that you are talking to XYZ company, but it's actually the attacker public key. So you're gonna encrypt everything with the attacker public key. Once it comes to the attacker, he has his own private key. He can see the data, and then later on can send the data to XYZ. So once he is in between, he can see the data, and you cannot really tell what is the difference. Can someone tell me how can we solve this issue? Again, what is the issue here of asymmetric, guys? Again, what is the issue here with asymmetric? We said that public key and private key was awesome. They solved all the issues with symmetric. Now I have an issue.
Because it's slow.
It's
okay. Forget about slowness. Slowness is not my concern right now.
Wait.
The security of the whole thing is my issue. The man of the middle attack can destroy the whole system.
Yes.
If he manage.
Can I explain it?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead. Sorry.
The public key is actually very fast, but it's not secured. لكن asymmetric key, it has 2 keys, one public and one symmetric, and one private. The private one is pre-shared between the 2 endpoints, and the symmetric key is shared after that. So the idea behind the private key is it's very secure, but it's very slowly. The data in transit, it passes through very slowly. So they use the symmetric key within it, so it gets these information faster. So the man in the middle, when it gets that, when he gets the key, the public key, he cannot decrypt it without the private key.
Okay,
Is
I like what you
clear?
explained. You are trying to explain how